Welcome to part 14 of The Wizard of Oz. Now, you might think 14, it says 13 here, but if you remember, we split the last chapter into two because it was quite a lengthy one. Now, unbeknown to Dorothy, water was almost, you could compare it to Superman. It was like Superman's kryptonite, and she didn't know. But so when she did chuck a bucket of water over the witch, she started to melt. And then Dorothy realised that that's what it was, so she threw another bucket, and then that was it. She was gone. Can you believe it? Something as simple as water. Who knew? So here we go. We're on to chapter 13 now. So 13, the rescue. The Cowardly Lion became much pleased to pay attention that the Wicked Witch had been melted by way of a bucket of water, and Dorothy straightway unlocked the gate of his prison and set him loose. They went in together to the castle, wherein Dorothy's first act became to name all the Winkies together and inform them that they were no longer slaves. There became terrific rejoicing, a number of the yellow Winkies, for they had been made to paintings difficult for the duration of a few years for the Wicked Witch, who had constantly dealt with them with wonderful cruelty. They kept nowadays as a vacation, then and ever after, and spent the time in feasting and dancing. "If our pals, the Scarecrow and the Tin Woodman, were handiest with us," stated the Lion, "I have to be pretty satisfied." "Don't you assume we should rescue them?" asked the woman anxiously. "We can try," replied the Lion. So they referred to as the Yellow Winkies and requested them in the event that they might assist to rescue their buddies, and the Winkies stated that they might be extremely joyful to do all in their strength for Dorothy, who had set them free from bondage. So she selected some of the Winkies, who seemed as if they knew the maximum, and they all began away. They travelled that day and a part of the following until they got there to the rocky simple in which the Tin Woodman lay, all battered and bent. Oh, his axe became close to him, but the blade changed into rusted, and the deal with broken off quick. The Winkies lifted him tenderly of their fingers and carried him again to the Yellow Castle again. Dorothy shedding a few tears with the aid of the man at the sad plight of her old buddy, and the Lion looking sober and sorry. When they reached the fortress, Dorothy stated to the Winkies, "Are any of your humans tinsmiths?" "Oh yes, some of us are superb tinsmiths," they advised her. "Then convey them to me," she stated, and while the tinsmiths got there, bringing them with them all their tools in baskets, she inquired, "Can you straighten out the one's dents within the Tin Woodman and bend him lower back into his form again and solder him collectively where he's damaged?" The tinsmiths appeared the Woodman over carefully, after which answered that they conceived that they could mend him so he would be as true as ever. So they set to work in one of the massive yellow rooms of the fort and laboured for 3 days and 4 nights, hammering and twisting and bending and soldering and sharpening and pounding on the legs and frame and head of the Tin Woodman, till, at remaining, he was straightened out into his old shape, and his joints laboured in addition to ever. To make certain, there had been several patches on him. However, the tinsmiths did a good task, and because the Woodman became now not a vain guy, he did not mind the patches in any respect. When, at ultimate, he walked into Dorothy's room and thanked her for rescuing him, he became so thrilled that he wept tears of joy, and Dorothy had to wipe every tear carefully from his face with her apron, so his joints could now not be rusted. At the equal time of her meeting her antique buddy again, and these tears did no longer want to be wiped away. As for the Lion, he wiped his eyes so regularly with the tip of his tail that it had become quite moist, and he became obliged to exit into the courtyard and preserve it in the sun till it dried. "If only we had the Scarecrow with us once more," said the Tin Woodman, whilst Dorothy had completed telling him everything that had came about. "I should be quite satisfied." "We ought to try to locate him," stated the woman. So she known as the Winkies to help her, and they walked all that day and part of the following till they came to a tall tree, in the branches of which the winged monkeys had tossed the Scarecrow's clothes. It turned into a completely tall tree, and the trunk changed into so easy that no one ought to climb it. But the Woodman said right now, "I'll chop it down, after which we are able to get the Scarecrow's garments." Now, while the tinsmiths had been at work mending the Woodman himself, every other of the Winkies who had become a goldsmith had made an axe handle of strong gold and fitted it to the Woodman's axe, rather than the vintage broken deal with. Others polished the blade till all the rust was eliminated and it glistened like burnished silver. As soon as he had spoken, the Tin Woodman started out to chop, and in a short time the tree fell over with a crash, whereupon the Scarecrow's garments fell out of the branches and rolled off at the floor. Dorothy picked them up and had the Winkies bring them return to the fortress, where they were stuffed with exceptional easy straw. And behold, right here became the Scarecrow, as top as ever, thanking them over and over again for saving him. Now that they were reunited, Dorothy and her pals spent some glad days at the Yellow Castle, wherein they located the whole lot they needed to lead them to at ease. But sooner or later the lady thought of Aunt Em and said, "We must go lower back to Oz and declare his promise." "Yes," said the Tin Woodman, "at remaining I shall get my heart." "And I shall get my brains," added the Scarecrow joyfully. "And I shall get my courage," stated the Lion thoughtfully. "And I shall get returned to Kansas," cried Dorothy, clapping her hands. "Oh, let us start for the Emerald City day after today." This they decided to do. The next day, they known as the Winkies collectively and bade them goodbye. The Winkies were sorry to have them pass, and they had grown so keen on the Tin Woodman that they begged him to stay and rule over them and the Yellow Land over the west. Finding they had been determined to move, the Winkies gave Toto and the Lion every a golden collar, and to Dorothy they offered a stunning bracelet studded with diamonds, and to the Scarecrow they gave a gold-headed strolling stick to keep him from stumbling, and to the Tin Woodman they presented a silver oil can inlaid with gold and set with precious jewels. Every one of the vacationers made the Winkies a quiet speech in return, and all shook hands with them till their arms ached. Dorothy went to the witch's cabinet to fill her basket with meals for the journey, and there she noticed the golden cap. She attempted it on her very own head and discovered that it outfitted her precisely. She did now know not anything about the attraction of the golden cap. However, she noticed that it was pretty, so she made up her thoughts to put on it and deliver her sunbonnet inside the basket. Then, being organised for the adventure, they all started for the Emerald City, and the Winkies gave them 3 cheers and plenty of suitable needs to hold with them.